It's my pleasure, my honor to welcome to the program today Michael Taylor, and he's written a new book, A New Conversation with Men. Would you give him a hand clap today? Welcome, Michael.
Thank you for having me, Pastor.
You're welcome. You're welcome. A New Conversation with Men. That's the title of your book.
Yes.
And your story is really quite, I don't know, it's very interesting. And you say that the book came out of your personal experiences. Why don't you explain that a little bit?
Well, let's go back about 20 years when I had lived the American dream. I had the wife, the house, the 2.5 kids, and all of that. And so by society standards, I had succeeded. Well, within 6 years, I watched that dream turn into a nightmare as I went through a divorce, a bankruptcy, foreclosure, basically lost everything.
Yeah.
And during the darkest period of my life, I was sitting there one night, and I asked myself a question that would change everything for me. And that question was, what if I took all the energy and effort I had used in trying to get rich and simply figured out how to be happy?
Come on.
And that question really changed me. And so as a result of asking that question, I went on an amazing journey of self-discovery. And this led me through going through therapy, hundreds and hundreds of hours of reading and going to seminars and so forth, and just trying to figure out, number one, what does it mean to be a man? Because as I looked at my life, I really didn't know. Or obviously I didn't know because my life wasn't working. So that's how this whole thing started. I was propelled as a result of my divorce and foreclosure to ask myself some deeper questions about being a man.
So one thing I want to ask you this question. How was your relationship with your father?
Actually, I had an estranged relationship with my father, which I resolved before his death.
Good.
And there's a beautiful story around that because my father, I didn't meet until I was 6 years old. And we never were close. But as he got older, he got cancer. And I decided that I was going to heal that relationship.
Good.
And I called him one night after he had cancer and he had lost a lung.
How old were you when you made that decision?
33.
Okay.
Anyway, I called him one night and I said, Dad, you know, I just want to tell you something. Actually, I didn't say Dad because I didn't call him Dad. But I called him Pop. And I said, Pop, you know, I've been thinking about you and I just want to tell you that I love you. And I said, you're not perfect, I'm not perfect, but I want you to know that I'm proud of you. And despite the fact that maybe we weren't that close, you're still my father. And I just want to let you know that I love you. And he died 2 days later. But when I said that on the phone, when I talked to him on the phone, as I said, I love you, he put the phone down and his wife picked up the phone and she says, what did you say? Because he was in tears.
Sure he was.
And I believe that it put his heart at ease because he was close to death anyway. And most of it has to do, wouldn't you agree, with the father's wound or the absentee father? Yes, and again, I believe that's one of the greatest challenges we have in our society, and I really applaud you for what you're doing with men's work because I think that's where everything changes for us as a society.
It does, as a society.
We have to redefine masculinity, and what I talk about in this book is I discovered 5 illusions of manhood that I think men get trapped in. And I wanted to share those with you real quickly. Number one, the first illusion is that to be a man, we must be non-emotional and disconnected. See, we live in a society that conditions men not to feel. We're taught from a very early age that it's not okay to be in touch with our emotions, as if women have a monopoly on emotions. Well, I say that our emotions are God's gift to us to communicate from our spirits, to let us know what's going on. And so that illusion, I think, is the foundation of most of the pain and suffering we have in our lives as men, because we don't know how to connect to our hearts. And so that's the first illusion. The second illusion is that to be a man, you must have money and material possessions. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with material possessions, but unfortunately, too many of us as men, we get caught in the trap of materialism. And so what I'm saying is we have to wake up from the illusion that that makes us a man.
We put a value. Right. The money gives us value. Or not.
And our sense of self is wrapped up into the stuff.
Right.
And so that's the second illusion. The third illusion is that to be a man, you must have titles and positions. And so what happens is we have this thing in our society that if I have this title, it somehow makes me better than another man, which I say that's not true. In God's eyes, we're all the same. And so I think that's an illusion we get trapped in. The fourth illusion is to be a man, you must use sexual conquest as a gauge for manhood. And that's one I think as men we really have to start talking about. Because if you look at throughout our media, what do you see? That masculinity is gauged by how many women you sleep with. We need to change that conversation. And the fourth illusion is that to be a man, you must win at all cost. And that's what drives the greed, the competitiveness that really destroys us of our spirit, I think.
Yeah.
And so those are the 5 illusions that I discovered in this last 20 years. And I think when we start waking up from these illusions, we become more authentic men.
I like that, and I think you've hit right on it too, Michael. That's right.
But there's also CoachMichaelTaylor.com, which is another resource for any man that's wanting something new and different.
Amen.